In the last video, we looked at English to metric conversions and how we had to start using a process called dimensional analysis. The great thing about dimensional analysis is no matter how many things or how far you're having to go to convert, you can just expand that table and keep on going. So in this one, we're going to look at two-step and some even three-step conversions and see how that differs. So when you do multiple steps in a conversion, I like to use the little T-chart to help us stay organized. So let's say we've got two different units that we're using, Unit A and Unit B, and we want to convert both of those units to something new. The very first box after your given is going to be where we put the ratio between Unit A previously and Unit A what we want it to be. So in the case here, we might go from like meters to kilometers, we might go from seconds to hours, but we want it to stay the same type of unit. If we're using distance, keep using distance. If we're using time, keep using time. Don't mix them up. You can't have so many hours in a mile. It just doesn't work. Then for the second unit, we're going to make a new box and look at the ratio between the unit that we have been using and the unit that we want to use. So between hours and seconds, or between miles and meters, whatever the case may be. But again, make sure you keep your distance together or your volume together or whatever it may be. Keep the units the same. Once we get all of our ratios plugged in, we simply multiply the things that are on top, multiply all the things that are on bottom, and then take whatever number we have on top and divide it by what's on bottom, and we'll get our new measurement with our new units. Okay, so let's try a couple. Let's say we want to take 15 meters per second and we want to change that. Our goal is for it to become kilometers per hour. Okay, first I'm going to just concern myself with changing meters to kilometers. So what I want to get rid of, you see how Unit A up here is across from Unit A here? What I want to get rid of, I put on the bottom, across from what it was previously. What I want it to become goes on top. So now we have a question of what's our ratio? How many meters are in a kilometer? Because kilometers are a bigger measurement. So you can't fit any kilometers inside a meter, but you can fit meters inside a kilometer. So how we figure that out is here's your 1 kilometer. We can chop it into 10 pieces and make hectometers. 100 decameters, or 1,000 meters. So for every kilometer that we run, we are actually running 1,000 meters. These two things mean the same thing. If you're talking too much and I want to punish you, I might say go run a kilometer, or I might say go run 1,000 meters. It sounds worse, but it's the same distance. Okay, so these two mean the same thing. Now let's look at seconds to hours. What we want to get rid of is going to go across from what it was previously. So we want to get rid of seconds. Now previously we put the thing that we wanted to get rid of on the bottom, but we started on the bottom. So what we want to get rid of goes on top this time. And what we want it to become goes on the bottom. Okay? Now we ask ourselves, which is the bigger measurement? Well, hours is much bigger than seconds. So 1 hour is the same thing as, if I give you an hour of detention, then that would mean the same thing as you having to sit there for 3,600 seconds. Okay? And to figure that out, you know that there's 60 minutes in an hour and 60 seconds in a minute. 60 times 60, 3,600. Okay? Last thing that we need to do is just multiply the things that are on the top, divide by the things that are on the bottom. So I'm using my calculator. I'm going to do 15 times 3,600. And then divide by what's on bottom, which is 1,000. So I've got 54. $54 kilometers for every hour. Okay? All right, let's try another one. 36 hectometers into hour. We want to get rid of hectometers, so that goes on the bottom. We want to change it into, our goal over here is centimeters. Our bigger measurement is hectometers, so it gets the 1. And now our question is how many centifit in a hecto. So here's 1, here's 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. Okay, now we'll do the same thing with hours and seconds. Our hours we want to get rid of, so they need to go across from each other. So hours will go up here. We want to change that into minutes, so it'll go on bottom. Hour is a bigger measurement than minutes, so 1 hour. In 1 hour, how many minutes tick by? 60. So it'll go on bottom. Now again, we'll take our 36 times 10,000, which will be 36,000. Oh, sorry, 360,000, because this is 10. And then divide by what's on the bottom, which is 60 minutes. And we get 6,000 centimeters for every minute. Okay, I'm going to throw in some English in there just to kind of trip this up a little bit. I want to go from grams per milliliter, this is density measurement, to ounces per cup. Okay, so first thing, I know that 1 liter is equal to 4.23 cups, so I want to go from grams to liters and then from liters to cups. That's going to help me jump a little bit easier. And then we want to go from grams to ounces. Okay, so what I want to get rid of, again, going on the bottom, grams, and what I want it to become, ounces. Okay, so grams go across from each other, and we're left with ounces on top, which is what we want. Now we put our ratio in. 1 ounce is the same thing as 28.35 grams. Okay. Now I'm going to switch and do my milliliters to liters and then liters to cups. So milliliters are on the bottom currently. We want to get rid of that, so they're going to go on top. To liters, there's 1,000 milliliters for every liter. There's liters, 10, 100, 1,000. And then we found out with our lovely research that for every liter we have 4.23 cups. Okay, so we're getting rid of milliliters, we're getting rid of liters, we're left with cups, which is exactly what we want. So now we just multiply across the top, which is 1,000, because there's a bunch of ones over there. So we'll take 1,000, divide by 28.35. We're also going to divide by 4.23. And we get 8.3, and you see that 3 right there is going to round up because of the 8. So 8.34. I ran out of room. Let me write it over the top. 8.34 ounces per cup. Okay. It gets a tiny bit tricky when we have something that's squared, like in the case of acceleration. Acceleration is how fast we are changing, how fast we're going. So it's meters per second for every second, or kilometers per hour for every hour. Okay, kilometers to meters is going to be pretty easy. We've done that before. Kilometers will go on bottom because it's across to meters. The bigger measurement gets the 1, so 1 kilometer is the same thing as 1,000 meters. Again, I know that because I can start here, 10, 100, 1,000. Okay. Now the question is, what do we do with these hours and seconds? They're squared. How do we handle that? Turns out the best way is to just take it one step at a time. So I'm going to put hours over seconds, just like I normally do. But when you say something is squared, what it means is hours times hours. Hour times hours is hours squared. Seconds times seconds is seconds squared. So I'm going to do this step again, okay, to make sure that I convert hours to seconds, which gives me hours squared to seconds squared. Okay, so 1 hour is the same thing as 3,600 seconds. I just have to do that twice. I didn't give myself a starting number. How crazy. Let's make up a number. How about 540? There we go. All right, now we got a number to convert. Okay, so 540 kilometers per hour squared times 1,000, which is our other number on top, divided by 3,600 twice. So divide by 3,600, divide by 3,600, and I get 1/24. I'm going to go change that to a decimal. You can leave it 1/24. I just love decimal numbers. So 0.04 meters per second squared. Okay, so now hopefully you are ready for anything. Get yourself organized. That's going to help you a lot to kind of keep everything in one big collection so you know what you're doing. So organize yourself, take it one step at a time, and you can convert just about anything.